Hi there, in this video I'm going to teach you how to create amazing background animations for your hero section. So we could get this hero section that we have right here and we could add some animated squares. So as you can see, this gives a very nice 3D touch, and the good thing is that the technique that you are going to learn in this video is going to give you full control of your background layer. So after applying this, you will be able to use any type of background you want. For example, an image, a moving image, or even a video. So as you can see, this can make your hero section look much cooler, and we are going to achieve this by using CSS positioning. So let's get started with this tutorial. In the description of this video, I left a link for the Git repo. If you are familiar with Git, you can go ahead and clone this repo on your machine. If you don't know much about Git, all you have to do is go here to the branches, select the student version, which is the version we are going to get started with in this video. Then you can just go to code and download zip. Once you download the project folder to your computer, you just have to open it with Visual Studio Code. So I have it right here and I'm ready to get started. If you used Git to clone this repo, make sure to select the student version branch before you get started. So we are here inside the index.html file. And if we analyze the structure, we can see we have a parent element for that whole section, which is the header element. Then inside it, we have a top bar, which is at the top here, and we have a hero section, which has an image and the description. This project is responsive, so if we grow this to desktop, we can see that the position of the hero content changes accordingly. And we also have this version for mobile that has this menu that you can open and close. The CSS has been written using a mobile first approach. So at the top here, we will have the global styles first. So things like resetting, margins and paddings for the body, and other global things we want to include here. Then the main styles are for mobile. So everything you will find here is for this mobile version. If you want to get to the tablet or desktop versions, you can scroll to the bottom. So here we have the styles for tablet. And if we scroll down a bit more, we have the styles for desktop. So I just wanted to show you these things so you can get familiar with the project. The technique I'm going to show you in this video consists in adding 3 layers to the hero section. The reason why I think it's important that you plan your HTML structure like this is because if you try to adjust the existing elements, you are going to start facing some problems. For example, we could go to the hero section and add a background image. We do that, we can see that the image is not covering the top bar part. Of course, we could remove the background for the hero section, remove the background from the top bar, and instead add this image to the parent element. So now we have the image covering the whole hero section, which is closer to what we want, but now the image is too bright. We can't read the text properly, and to add an overlay to this image would take some effort. Not to mention that if we want to go even further with this background and have an animation for this image, or if we wanted to add a video or even pure CSS animations, we would probably break the structure a bit, so we would have to spend some extra time fixing HTML and CSS. With the technique we are going to apply now, you will have full control over this middle background layer, and you can do whatever you want with it without interfering with the other elements. So let me hit Ctrl Z a few times to undo these changes, and let's do this implementation properly. So going back to the HTML file, the 3 layers we are going to have are the following. So the first one in the back is going to be the parent element, which is the header. Then we are going to add the middle layer, which is going to be the hero background. And we need the top bar and the hero to be inside the same common parent element. So let's add another element here. Let's add a class of hero content. And we are going to add both the top bar and the hero element. This will ensure that this is going to be one layer And with this, we will be able to add any type of background that stays behind both of these elements. Now we can save this and we can see that nothing happened to the structure of the page. We can go to the other screen dimensions to take a look. We can see that everything is still working as expected. And now going back to the CSS file, we're going to make the trick here using absolute positioning. So inside the header, we now have an element called hero background. And if we set the position absolute for this element, this is going to be removed from the HTML flow, and we will be able to positioning using top, bottom, left, or right properties. So let's use top 0, left 0, and let's make it 100% of the size of the parent element. So width 100% and height 100%. Now to see how this element looks, let's add a background color. We can see that this element is now taking the whole screen. This is because an element with a position of absolute will always have these values here according to the closest parent that has a relative position. Since we didn't define a relative position to any parent element, both these values here and the width and height are relative to the body element. This is why it's taking the whole screen. So to make it get only the hero size, we need the parent to have a relative position. So let's add a position relative to the parent, and now we can see that this is taking the correct space. So this is the middle layer we want. Now let me quickly remove the background color, and let's make an adjustment to the background color of the header. Before we were setting the background color on separate places, so in the top bar and in the hero. Now what we are going to do is add this background to the header. Having this as part of the bottom layer will make it possible for us to create cool overlays with the images. So we are going to add it here. We just removed it from the top bar, and we are also going to remove it from the hero. So let's go all the way to the hero, remove it from here. Now we have that background layer, which is blue. We also have the middle layer, which is the hero background. So we can see it right here. Now we could even start playing with overlays. For example, adding a black background color and a lower opacity, something like 0.5. And as you can see, we are already starting to play with an overlay. But now we need the hero content to be in the front. And this can be a little challenging if you don't know very well how CSS positioning works. So the way we're going to play with the ordering here is going to be through the z-index property. So for the one that we need to be in the middle, we can define a z-index of 0. And now we need to create a selector for that hero content, which is the front layer. And we could add the z-index to 1. As you can see, this is not working. This is because an element with a static position, which is the default position of this element, is not going to be included in this ordering. We could try to set it to absolute. So let's copy these selectors and these as well, so they grow with the parent element. Now we were able to bring it to the front, but we lost the background. This is because since now this element has an absolute positioning, the parent element, which is the header, is not growing to fit its content. I could come here and set the height to the parent element to like 1000 pixels, and then we would have the background back. But this is not the way to do it, because we need to make sure that it grows only to fit the content. And we need it to happen like this because we have elements that are aligned using Flexbox, so we can't use arbitrary values like this. So we are going to delete the height from here, and now we know that setting an absolute position to the hero content is not going to work because we need its parent to grow with it. But if we remove the absolute positioning, then this is not going to be ordered using z-index. The trick here is going to be to add a position of relative, because elements that has a position of relative will respect the z-index rule, but they are not going to be absolute, so they are not going to be removed from the HTML flow. And by doing that, we will be able to achieve exactly what we want. This is not going to be an absolute positioned element, which means that its parent will grow to fit the content, but since this is not static, this is going to respect the z-index ordering. And now that this is relative, we can actually go ahead and delete these properties, as these are not going to be needed anymore. So by just making this quick change, we can see that now we achieved what we wanted. We now have 3 individual layers. So the bottom one is the header, the middle one the hero background, and the top one the hero content. So now let's start exploring the possibilities we have here. Starting with a background image, I'm going to go to Google Images and I'm going to search for tech background. This is just so we can find an example here. Let's go to the images search. Let's go to tools and let's choose a large size. So you can get any image from here just for this test. This one, for example, so I'm going to copy the image address. Now for the header, I'm going to add it as a background image. Let's set the size to cover. And now we can start playing with the overlay. So if we don't want any overlay, we could have the opacity set to 0 or no background, like this. Now we have the original color of the image. If we want the overlay, we can put it back and maybe add 70% opacity so we can read the text better, but we can still see the image. And this is the most simple thing we can do. But now with this structure, things are going to become more interesting because we are going to add videos, CSS animations, and anything we want here. So let's see how we can add a video. Let's go to W3 Schools and let's search for HTML video background. They have a very nice example we can use. So let's go inside. Let's go to try it yourself. And we can now copy the video element. So we can go back there, go to the HTML element, and we are going to add this video to the hero background element. So remember I said now we have full control of what we want to show in this element. Now for this to work, we just need to get the actual remote version of the video. So let's go back here. Let's go to inspect. Let's open this up. Let's open the video in a new tab, and now we have the complete URL. Now going back there, we can replace the source. So now we have a video inside here. Let's go to the CSS file. Let's remove the background color and the opacity. We can also remove the background from the header. And now we need to make sure that the video grows to the full size. So if we had a background color of black in the parent element, we can see that the video is not taking the whole element. So let's make it happen. Let's add the video element and let's set a min height of 100%. So now we made sure that the video is taking the whole space of the parent element. And now we have a video in the background, and how do we play with the overlay? Remember that the parent element now has a black background. So if we go to the video and we set the opacity to 0, we won't see it at all. We will just see the background color. So playing with the opacity of the video will have the exact effect we want. For example, we can set it to 0.3, and now we see a little bit of the video, and we also have a darker background, which makes it possible for us to see the image, text, and everything we have in the hero content. So this is another cool background you can use. And to finish this video, I'm going to show you how to use some CSS animations. So I'm here in this great article published in the Alvaro Trigo blog. Here we have some very nice examples of CSS animations we can add to our backgrounds. So there's one in particular here that caught my attention. Let's scroll down. So this is the one I'm going to use for this example. This is going to give a nice touch to our background. So let's go to the HTML. As you can see, we can just add some elements with a class of cube. So going to the HTML, instead of having a video, we can have anything we want inside this element. So that's the beauty of this technique. So I'm going to add all those HTML elements. And now let's copy the CSS. We don't need it for the hero. We just need the styles for the cubes. So let's copy all this, all the keyframes and everything. Be careful if you're going to use this in a real life project. Don't forget to give the credit to the creator of this. And in some cases, you might be required to ask for their permission first. But this is just for our example. So let's just copy the whole thing. Now I'm going to add it to the bottom of my CSS file. So let me just add a comment here that these are the hero background animations. So now this should be working. Let's go back to the background color we had before for the header. So now we have the original blue color. This is looking good, but as you can see, the elements are showing outside of it. This is because we have the default overflow. To fix this, we can just go to the parent element and set the overflow to hidden. And by doing that, the elements are only going to appear inside its space. So this is also another very cool trick you can use to spice it up your hero backgrounds. So that was it. I hope you liked this tutorial, and don't forget that this technique can be used in any HTML element. This is not something specific for the heroes section. This actually works pretty well with cards or any HTML element that has a full width and height background. So I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to the web schools to support this channel and like this video. So I'll see you next time.